Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, wherever you are. I have Dr. Ken Vagg from Perth, Western Australia, who is currently scouting the countryside. He's exploring the outback in his caravan, and that's why he looks so casual and happy. But ever the chiropractor is Ken, and I want to share with you his thoughts on the profession and other things. Welcome, Dr. Ken Vagg.
Thank you, Dr. Urano. Good to be here.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun connecting with you guys, especially a man who's currently scouting around the outback of Australia. He's given himself 12 months to explore this country. And so he might avoid a few of the stupid lockdowns and prison enforcements, being nomadic. So I hope you're enjoying it, Tim.
Yes, we are. It's been great so far. We're up in Broome at the moment, and we'll be heading up to Pender Bay soon, and that's about as isolated as you can get away from everybody. I've got a friend who owns a big property up there, so he's told us we could go and stay there for as long as we like.
Awesome. And you are ever present in the field of chiropractic thinking, and you began your studies in Cleveland College, USA, and you completed them at what was the Phillip Institute of Technology, which is now MIT. And so you've been a chiropractor for how many years?
44. This would be my 44th year.
And primarily in which location?
No, not primarily in any location, really. Well, let me see. I was in Bunbury in the southwest for 8 years. I had a practice in Bunbury.
Is that in which state?
Western Australia.
WA.
Branches in Manjimup and Busselton. Then we moved to Perth. I had a clinic in East Perth for not all that long, about 4 years. Then we moved to England. I had a practice in a little town in North Devon called Barnstaple.
Wow.
Started from scratch there. Then came back to Australia.
What year were you in England?
92 to 96.
Mm-hmm.
I would have stayed there, but my daughter Taylor wanted to complete her high school studies in Australia.
And she's now
that's right. And she needed the Australian education to get into the college here to be a chiropractor. So we came back.
Yeah.
And then I had a few years off and started up a practice in Fremantle in 99, I think it was, and left that about 5 years ago. Well, Taylor took it over about 5 years ago. And then I practiced from home, which I've enjoyed very much in shorts and bare feet.
Oh, well, and Taylor's made a fine contribution to the profession, but yourself, where do you think we're going? Where have we been? What are your thoughts on the profession at this moment?
I think it's changing rapidly. There's been a bit of a takeover of the thought processes that have always governed chiropractic education, and we've moved away from traditional chiropractic, and we're now more symptom-oriented rather than healthy body-oriented. And the emphasis in the chiropractic education seems to be less on adjusting and more on other modalities these days. That's just my observations of what's going on.
Is that a problem for you?
Yes, it is.
Why?
Big problem. Well, because chiropractic was very special. It was based on the idea that there's an intelligence in the body, and the body can heal itself if given the right circumstances, and that revolved around the existence of the subluxation. And so the traditional chiropractors, and I include myself as one of those, always look for subluxations and to try to get the nervous system functioning, and so the body could heal itself. That's no longer the thought process that takes place. A lot of the younger chiropractors go, oh, you've got a pain in the leg. Let's treat the leg. We'll give you a leg a rub and do some dry needling. And the thought of adjusting to change that, or even looking for something that may be present in the spine that's causing that pain, it doesn't seem to be high on the list of things to do.
So would you say that we're like duplicating practices that already exist, or we're merely treading in territory that we shouldn't be in, or that is useless? Or do you think that we just had a good thing and we're letting it go?
Well, we definitely had a good thing and we're letting it go. I mean, the notion was quite unique, that the body could heal itself given the right circumstances, and particularly when you took the stress off the central nervous system, rather than treat symptoms. Symptom treating is the realm of allopathic medicine, and when you go down that road, treating symptoms isn't always what's best for the body, and in fact, it can be quite harmful. Given, I mean, current statistics show that iatrogenesis would be one of the top 3 killers of humans. Iatrogenesis being reactions of all sorts to medical treatment.
Yeah, well, it's basically physician-created disease.
Yeah, why
but
would
surely,
you want to go down that track?
what would you say to people who say, well, the chiropractic concepts and premises are not proven, that if we go down the route of dry needling or things that are accepted, that we will be legitimized and we will proliferate through legitimate practices? What do you say to that?
Well, yes, that will happen. We'll be legitimized, but it won't be chiropractic anymore.
Mm.
Chiropractic was very good. You and I know, and most of the older chiropractors know exactly how good chiropractic is.
Mm.
And it performs wonders on day in, day out. This other stuff doesn't.
So where the heck did we lose our way, Ken?
Could probably get sued. So I won't mention those, but basically, well, the way that anybody takes over a profession is to get involved in the education of them and change the education.
Right.
That's what's happened.
Yeah.
And we have one of the things that's always bothered me is that our professional body really doesn't stand up for the profession, and lets it be slandered and libelled, and watered down.
Mm.
So the combination of those two things.
So does it mean that your outlook is grim?
For chiropractic,
Yeah.
yes, and it's grim for people who could really benefit from chiropractic. You know as well as I do, when you need an adjustment, you need an adjustment, and it changes your life.
Mm.
If there's nobody around to do that, you're in trouble.
And a lot of my guests have been people that have come back to the education. I'm hoping that I can interview Patrick Sim in the near future, and he's agreed to come on. And
well, he's an exception to what I've been talking about.
Some hope there?
Yes, yeah, definitely. I support that college.
Right. It all comes down to that, and I think that myself, my personal experience being through Palmer, there were excellent colleges all around the world, but through Palmer, it was like it was a horse race you were more likely to win or place, because some of the colleges were like places that you would only succeed if you were like randomly lucky, or you just were sensible enough to latch on to something of merit. Whereas if you went to a good college, you sort of hung there and you absorbed the good experience. And unfortunately, with the uncertainty in tertiary education now, you got kids that go through these places and they're just full of uncertainty, doubt, and directionless. But, you know, uncertainty and doubt is not a bad thing. But when there's nothing but,
as long as you can overcome it.
Yeah.
And for that, you need a basis.
Yeah, that's right.
And the older chiropractors had the basis. We had the philosophy, and that held it all together. It brought it all together.
So what other thoughts go through your mind?
Sorry, go on.
On that.
Go on. What was your question?
No, what other thoughts around that? thought that you have?
The philosophy seems to be a dirty word in the profession these days amongst certain groups anyway. And you don't have to become religious about it to believe in it, believe the philosophy and understand it. You can employ the philosophy on a day-to-day basis. The philosophy has clinical significance. If you accept that the body is continually attempting to return itself to a state of homeostasis, then you might look at symptoms in a different way.
Yes.
You might, and the medical people are finally discovering that a high temperature is actually your body trying to heal itself. And there are a whole range of examples of that. Vomiting and diarrhea with food poisoning. Are you sick or are you healthy, as Reggie Gold used to say? Well, you're healthy. Your body's trying to get itself back to normal. So there's clinical significance to understanding the chiropractic philosophy, and it's what makes us different from medicine or physiotherapy or any of the health professions.
And who are your greatest influences in Australia and outside as well? I mean, in chiropractic, who do you think were our great pioneers and mentors, or your mentors?
I'm a mentor in America. When I went to Cleveland Chiropractic College in Kansas City, Missouri, and it was a private college owned by Carl Cleveland, Carl II.
Yeah.
Carl I was a friend of BJ's. Carl II knew BJ. Carl III knew BJ or his son. Carl Cleveland was a genius, in my opinion, and the way he taught chiropractic, it just made such perfect sense that you couldn't dispute it.
Tell us a bit about him, because you don't often hear any discourse about him these days.
No. I guess, well, I still got what's called the red books. He did the red books, where Palmer did the green books. And I've only met one other person in Amsterdam who was from Cleveland Chiropractic, and I mentioned the red books, and he said, "Oh, I've got all the red books." He was a genius. Yeah, it's very interesting. And of course, in those days, Reggie Gold used to come and talk. He was a different sort of fellow, and I didn't believe everything he said, but he was a great motivator and put things in perspective.
Oh, he was, yeah.
For students. So I had a lot of time for Reggie. Sigafus, who was a lunatic. But I loved him anyway. You just couldn't help but like the bloke. And he stood behind the philosophy of chiropractic in his own.
Yeah. But Sigafus used to go to Roy Sweat for his Atlas adjustments too.
Yeah. Easy Reichman, or Guy Reichman, was my chiropractor when I was at chiropractic college.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he practiced Blair technique, upper cervical. And his example was just amazing for us as young people.
Yeah, Guy also goes down to Atlanta and see Roy Sweat, and he spoke at one of our gatherings, and and it's like you say, Jim Sigafus, lunatic, Guy Reichman, borderline, but all still had so much to give.
Oh, hell yeah! No, I'll tell you a funny story if we've got time.
Please.
Well, it's not funny. It'll take 5 minutes.
No, we got hours, mate.
Okay. To become a patient of Easy's, a Guy, sorry, we always knew him as Easy in those days. He had
I know.
You had to come to his patient talk.
Yeah.
Which was the precursor to what became known as the Renaissance when him and Joe Felici got together. So we went along to the talk, and he emphasised the fact that he didn't treat symptoms, and you weren't to talk about symptoms in the clinic. That was forbidden. We do not talk about symptoms in the clinic. So then you sign up. After that, if you want to be a patient, you fill out a patient form, and he would x-ray you and schedule you for your next visit. So he scheduled us for our next visits, my wife and I, and went through the analysis, the Blair analysis, and said, "You've got a right atlas and what have you."
Oh, wow.
Anyway, he said, "And today I'm going to adjust you." And it's like, whoa, because he didn't adjust everybody on every visit. He had 5 checks that he would do to see if your atlas needed adjusting.
Yeah.
So anyway, we got adjusted. Had to lie on the table for 15 minutes, and then a couple of assistants came in and helped us up. And then we went to another room, a dark room. We had to lie down for 45 minutes.
Wow.
In those days, they called it a setment.
The setment period.
So the ligaments could reestablish themselves and solidify where he'd put the atlas. So that was all wonderful, and he scheduled us for a few days' time, and I woke up the next day and I'm in full-blown torticollis. So now, bear in mind, I'd had spinal problems since I was a teenager. I'd injured myself on a trampoline quite badly, and that's how I got into chiropractic, because I had all sorts of problems. So anyway, went along to the next visit, and I'm thinking, this is good. Geez, I can't wait to get adjusted and get rid of this torticollis. So Easy sat me down in the chair. He did a motion palpation. He did neurocolometer and leg check and a couple of other checks. And he came around and looked me in the eye. He said, that's good. The adjustment was fine. He said, I'm not going to do anything today. See you next week.
Discipline, mate. Discipline.
Man, he was disciplined. I wasn't. So I said, hang on, Easy. I'm in a lot of pain here. He said, Ken, look, we don't talk about symptoms in the clinic. I told you that. And I accepted you as a patient on that basis.
I love it.
And I said, no, you don't understand. And he jumped up and he got in my face. He said, no, you don't understand. We do not talk about symptoms. And if you're going to talk about symptoms, you're going to have to go somewhere else. I've gone, oh, shit.
Patient abandonment. I love it.
So, but as the week went on, the torticollis gradually went and my spine reorganised itself, and it was the best it had been in years and years and years.
There you go, mate.
I'd suffered from low back pain, thoracic pain, and that was a lesson.
Yes.
That was a lesson about symptoms and the treatment of symptoms. We deal with spines.
I love it.
Symptoms.
Great story, man.
We got to. I've occasionally pulled that on patients, but it's hard.
Isn't it hard?
Yeah,
and I
because
guess
basically
it's almost like only Guy could, and a few others could pull that off, because it
we've got to be very
requires
certain.
such discipline
and certainty.
Yeah. And that's where it takes on the religious fervor, because if you read the Bible, it says, have faith in God, everything's okay. And in the world, it's the hardest thing to do.
It just doesn't seem like that sometimes.
No, because faith,
okay.
your faith erodes. But it's fascinating. Yeah, and people like him, and because I've heard Guy speak only a few years ago, and he's still got it. He's still riveting. I don't
talk for days.
Huh?
He can talk for days. I saw him at the Rubicon in Paris about 2 or 3 years ago.
Oh, right. There you go.
It's wonderful to listen to.
Yeah. And as long as you don't, I think as long as the key is not to put them on a pedestal and anyone on a pedestal. And that's part of the reason I love doing this podcast, because here you are in the outback. You don't even practice. But you've got something to say, and I love that. And I think that's the beauty of the internet, YouTube and all that. So it's fun. And we've got such a diverse profession, and that's the problem that you've touched on. It's becoming centralized, generic, and what?
It's grey and
bland.
Look, I talk to a lot of young chiropractors, and occasionally I teach technique.
Yeah.
If someone wants me to go to their clinic, and I'll spend an afternoon with their associates and go through techniques. So I've done it.
And that was like Thompson based, was it?
Well, Thompson is part of it. I'll teach whatever. I've got a big toolbox.
Yeah. So it was Ken Vagg technique, right?
Yeah. with all the things that I've done, most of the major techniques over the years and studied them and practiced them. And we can go through it. And you meet these young kids, and some of them get quite excited. They go, "Oh, gee, I didn't know you could do that." But others are just very bland. You know, it's almost like they couldn't get into dentistry, so they chose chiropractic.
Yeah.
And it's really just something that supports their surfing hobby or their skateboarding hobby or whatever.
And so that's like reflects our missionary type fervor, wasn't it? We were like missionaries.
Yeah. We were excited.
Yeah.
We were excited because we thought we could change the world.
Yeah. Now it's what can I do not to piss off the world?
I gave up on that when I was about 16.
Well, mate, it's been grand talking to you.
And to you, Joe. It's been a pleasure.
I wish you well on the journey. Maybe we'll pick you up in, Cape York or something, or the Great Barrier Reef or Ayers Rock. Are you going through the middle or around it?
Oh, yeah. Yep. We'll go through the middle.
Yeah.
Maybe politically. Sorry?
You know what would be fun if we picked you up when you're at Ayers Rock, Uluru, and did it like a backdrop of Uluru interview.
That would be nice.
You wouldn't have any internet, probably.
Oh, possibly. Well, I'll check into that.
Yeah, we could do it. 10-minute job, and that would be fun.
It's a wonderful place. Wonderful place. I went there in '77 when I first graduated. I did another trip halfway around Australia, and Uluru was a place where we stopped. There weren't many people there then. You could camp at the base of Uluru.
Wow.
And we slept and got up and had a barbecue in the morning. And I actually climbed Uluru and sat up the top and meditated for an hour or two.
Well, you look pretty Indigenous right now. A bit rough, a bit nomadic. So I reckon you'll get away with it.
Well, I've got a mate here who's half Indigenous, and as long as I'm with him, I can do all sorts of things.
You can get away with murder, yeah.
Yeah, well, not quite, but.
Well, what's Vagg? What's the origin of Vagg? Is that
Danish?
Danish, yeah, yeah. Well, you guys invaded Australia before anybody. No, that was the Dutch. Sorry.
That was the Dutch. The Vaggs went to England and settled in a little town in Somerset called Yeovil.
Oh yeah,
and then spread out from there all over the world.
Yeah, they've been everywhere since. Well, mate, Ken, it's been a pleasure, mate, and we'll catch up soon.
Thanks,
see if you can set up an Uluru backdrop.
Well, I might see if I can adjust a few people up there. I say I'm retired, but I'm missing it.
Well, those communities do, appreciate so much. And my girlfriend, she actually is an optometrist who sees Indigenous communities, and they're people in great need, especially of chiropractic. And that's why I want to interview Jeff Irvine too. He was big on Indigenous, and people like Dean Vindinyi. He was amazing in setting up Indigenous chiropractic health, wasn't he?
Yeah,
mate.
Definitely, and I think it'd be great fun.
Great seeing you. We'll chat soon, Ken Vagg.
Thanks, Joe. All the best.
See you, mate.
Bye-bye.